do that. And you can see it was super quick, right? It just went in a jiffy right there. And you can see quite, so let me just expand. And so all you need to do is open your command palette and just type in Fallow. And right there you have quite a few options, and all of them will show me the duplicate /Fallow. And it would understand, it would use those Fallow tools to do what you want it to do. So for example, I could just ask it /Fallow what files need. You can see now, right? You can see Fallow. So if the first time it doesn't appear, just come back and just try again. Okay, it should follow up, and you can see right here, right, this thing that I've highlighted, you can see Fallow tools. So it is available, and I have other MCP servers which you can ignore. All righty, and now once you've set up the MCP server, make sure that it's working just as I showed you. Now you can just use natural language just to chat with your AI agent. So you can, if you wanted, you could just use the /Fallow command, right? And then you could say, do this, do that. But since now we have exposed the Fallow tools as an MCP server, you can just directly say analyze the code, and it should be intelligent enough to use those Fallow tools exposed via the MCP server. So let's try that example. Okay, I just wanted to ignore, and this is just an example. Okay, all I needed to do is I'll just say, just ignore this. Okay, I got a double quotes which I do not want, so it will ignore this from the duplicate check, right? And if you just hover your cursor over, it will tell you exactly what this means. Okay, so minimum occurrences mean the number of occurrences before a group. Hello and welcome back. Today I'll be introducing you to a super useful and powerful tool called Fallow, which you can use as a quality gatekeeper for your front-end code. Now what you can do with Fallow is that it allows you to generate some health metrics, whereby it will show you how complex your code is, what is the cyclomatic complexity, what is the cognitive complexity, what is the dead code, that is code that you do not use, what are the duplicates, and there are a host of other features that you can use to do it. It also auto fixes your code, and the best thing about it is that you can use it with an AI agent or without an AI agent. You can use it as an MCP server, right, where you can just integrate it with your AI agent and chat up with your AI agent in natural language, because the MCP server provides it with all the tools, all the Fallow tools that it requires to do the analysis of the code and make it better. We will be looking into all of these aspects, right? So I'm super excited to discuss this tool with you, and let's get right into it. I am on the home page of Fallow, which is fallow.tools. I will be linking this in the video description below, so do check that out. And straight away it says it's code-based intelligence for TypeScript and JavaScript, which is what you will be using to build your front end normally, right? Now there are two flavors to Fallow. One is the free open source version, which is what I will be demoing, right? And this does a static analysis on your code. It has a host of features which I believe is more than enough for most use cases. But if that is not enough, you could go for the paid version, which actually does a dynamic analysis on your code base. So essentially it will do a dynamic analysis on your production live version, and it has some incredibly useful and powerful features which we will not go into, right? So this demo is only for your free open source version, and there are some nice hits and bits, so please go through it. For the installation, just go to the left hand pane and click on the installation link here, right? This will bring you to this page, installation, and you can install it in more than one method. So you can do it without installing Fallow, so you just need to run npx, and remember you must have npm installed, right? If you do not have npm installed, you can also use Node Packet Manager, you can use Yarn, you can use Cargo you can have a binary download. So there are other methods which you can with which you can install Fallow, right? The method I used is the global installation using npm, and what I did is I just copied this, just opened a command prompt and just hit this and pressed enter. I'm not going to do it again because I already installed it. This is just to show you how you can do it. It is super easy peasy, that's what I would say. And just to show that I have installed it, right? And it just says, if you scroll down a bit below, it says just make sure that you have installed it correctly. It should show you the version if you run this command, and this is what we will do. Yeah, it says Fallow 2.1.2.0 is installed and gives the location. Just as I said, easy peasy. And this is one of my pet projects which has some front-end code that I'm working on. Doesn't matter what it does, or actually just let me make sure that it works. So I'll just run this to make sure that it actually does work. Let it simmer. Yeah, just started. So let me open up this. Give it a minute. And it has loaded, as you can see. So it's just a tutorial website, right, that I have demoed umpteen times before, if you have following my videos, that is. So it has a welcome page. So I'll just minimize this terminal so you can see better. Yeah, it has some episodes which is blank, so it's just a work in progress. There's about page, there's a FAQ page, so very basic tutorial page, right? And it has a nice video. Okay, so if you play it, yeah, an error has occurred. It doesn't matter, right? As I said, this is a work in progress. Okay, this demo is not about making this website. It is about how you can analyze the code that was used to make this website. So let's get rolling. So all the commands that you can use with Fallow, you can find it in the quick start section. So if you go to quick start on the Fallow homepage, click on that link, it will bring you to this section here. And it gives a list of commands that you can use with Fallow. Now, if you have installed Fallow using npx, remember you would always have to use it in that order. So it will be npx space Fallow and space the command. But since I have installed it globally, I do not need to actually run npx. I can just do a Fallow and I'll just put in the command. So that is how I will be using it. Okay. So based on your preference, your poison of choice, make the change accordingly. So let's go back to the code here, right? And what's happening with the code? Yeah, let us now do some analysis. So I'll just do Fallow. Okay. And remember, right now I have not integrated it with any AI agents, right? So that integration is not there. This is just the tool doing its work. So as soon as I run Fallow, it will do an analysis and it will generate a nice report on the health of my code base. So let's do that. And you can see it was super quick, right? It just went in a jiffy right there. And you can see quite, so let me just expand this so you can see it properly. You can see quite a few metrics have been generated. So dead files 0%, which is good. 9 entry points detected. Dead code nothing. So if dead code is code that you have not used and it's of no use at all, if you had dead code, it would show up in this section, unused code. So there is an unused export and it tells me exactly where it is. So it is on this. So if I just click on that part, it takes me directly into that piece there, which is super useful. So it says this, you know what, this is not actually being used. And it has given me some unused dependencies. It's 2 optional dependencies. Duplication, code duplication is not there, which is good. and then it goes to give me some health metrics. So it gives me a complexity metrics. It says there are 551 lines of code. The dead files are 0%. Dead exports is 5.6% based on the lines of code. Average cyclomatic is 1.5. Now, cyclomatic complexity is to do with the number of loops that you've defined, the number of if else, the number of branches your code has. So the higher the cyclomatic score, it is bad, right? So your cyclomatic score should be low. And then it goes on to mention some large functions. Again, you can see it has hyperlinked this function. So if I wanted, I could just click it on this right here and it would directly take me into that function. So I could just have a look into it. Already you can see how super useful this tool is, isn't it? And remember, it is without an AI agent. Right now, it's not even using an AI agent to generate these things there, right? So it says high complexity functions is a this, and this is a CRAP score right here. What is a CRAP score? A CRAP score is a change risk anti-pattern score. So the rule of the thumb is lower the score, the better, right? So the CRAP score is 42.0, which is somewhat okay. And you can see 6 cyclomatic, there are 4 coordinative, around 63 lines, and that's why I get a CRAP score of 42, right? So this is my file health scores. It goes on to detail each file, okay, and what is my health score. Higher the health score, the better. So this file has 75 lines of code. This is one fan in, one fan out, right? So essentially how many things actually go out of one function, how many things converge into a function. 0% dead code, which is quite good. And this is a risk code. If you want to know what all these metrics means, okay, just go into this page. So again, on the home page, if you just scroll down into the explanation section, there's a section called Health Explained. If you click on it, right, it will give you a detailed overview of what these scores actually mean. So it says this is the complexity metrics, okay, so this is what appears in your Fallow health output. What's a cyclomatic complexity? So as I mentioned, it is the number of linearly independent paths through a function's control flow, and it gives an example like for structured programs, this simplifies to the 1 plus the number of decision points. So an if-else loop, switch cases, other loops, logical ampersand, and which is your and or, right, and your catch. And it should be in the range 1 to 10. So it's quite simple to understand. It's not complex. If it's above 50 plus, it's something you don't want. It's complex. So it also has a cognitive complexity score, okay, and the range here 0 to 7, it's easy to understand at a glance. 15 plus, it's very hard to understand. So this has quite a few metrics explained. Just go through this, okay, just to understand what all this course means. It's quite engrossing. And now if you want to see the per decision contributions for a particular hotspot, okay, hotspot is something that keeps changing. There are a lot of changes to that particular piece of code, class, function, whatever you want to call it, that file, right? Just run this command, that is Fallow space health space hyphen hyphen complexity hyphen breakdown, right? And it essentially it gives you a more comprehensive breakdown about your functions, about your complexity, your health score. This might look very similar to what we got previously, but if you look closely enough, right, you can see that it says that hotspot analysis skipped because there's no JIT repository found. So I've not actually given it any JIT reference where it can actually infer what is the hotspot, because the way it infers a hotspot is if a file has been modified or changed frequently enough, JIT will have a count, and that is what this tool uses to infer that this is a hotspot. This piece of code keeps on changing, and hereby the probability of it being more complex, more prone to error is higher. So that's how it tags a hotspot. Since I'm not using JIT, okay, you can just try it out. If you're using JIT, it will pick up the hotspot. It gives you a health score, and it gives you some detections, unit size, dead exports, some more metrics essentially to what we saw earlier. Okay. If I want a little more detail on some unused or some complexity, okay, I want Fallow to explain to me what the issue was with a certain metrics it brought up, what I can run it. So let me just clear the screen so that you get more screen estate. I can just say explains, for example, unused export. Okay. Okay, and I've got the spelling wrong. Right. So it says what unused export essentially means. This is pretty useful, right? You would agree. So why it matters, what is an example, how to fix. We know how to fix an unused export, but still it's just to give you a flavor of what you can do with this tool. Or alternatively, you could ask it to explain something like high complexity, right? So just say Fallow explain high complexity, right? And it will say what is high complexity, why it matters. It will give you an example, it will give you an how you can fix this. So pretty cool. Now, if you wanted to understand more about the output, let me clear the screen. Okay, some other useful examples are, for example, you wanted to understand dead code. What is a dead code within your code base? Okay, if that is what you want to know, you are not interested in any other metrics, right? Just run this command right here, and it will just bring up what all dead codes are there in your project. That's the only metrics it will pull up. Or for example, if you want to just to find the dupes, number of duplicates, okay, just do a Fallow dupes. And since it doesn't have any dupes, good me, right? It will not bring up any dupes in this project, but if your project had dupes, it will be flagged here. So you can do a piece by piece analysis instead of running the whole metrics at one stretch if you so wished, which is again awesome. Now let us run the report. So if I do just do a Fallow health, okay, pretty much the same thing, right? You can just see the health, project health generated again. So you can bring out all the complexities in your code there, and it says this is maintainability index is 97, which is quite good. Now say I wanted to fix any issues, okay, or all the issues, what I could do is, let me clear the screen again. Okay, I could just say Fallow fix, and before I actually ask it to fix my code, okay, I'll do a dry run. Why a dry run is because when I do a dry run, it tells me what exactly it is going to change. This is what it plans to do, and if I do not agree with it, I can just cancel. So the command for this is Fallow space fix space hyphen hyphen try hyphen run. Okay, and it will just say this is what it's planning to do. It would remove this ESLint config. Next, from dev dependencies, would remove this. Dry run complete, no files were modified because it was a dry run. Now if I actually wanted to fix it, I would just do a Fallow space fix, right? And it fixed the two issues. As easy as that. Now before we go on, I think it would be useful for you to install the Fallow extension if you are on, say, VS Code or Anti-Gravity. You could use the extensions. I'm not sure about IntelliJ, but I'm sure Fallow would have similar extensions there. So just search for the extension. So if I am on, say, VS Code, okay, and since I am on VS Code Insiders, okay, it's a little bit different, but it's essentially the same thing. Just search for Fallow within the extensions marketplace, and it will bring this extension up. As you can see, I've already installed it. Just click on install and it's done. The good thing about doing it this way is you can essentially now use the command palette, right, to run your Fallow commands. So all you need to do is open your command palette and just type in Fallow, and right there you have quite a few options, and all of this, okay, is to do with the extension. So you have follow, audit, change files, auto fix that we just saw. Licenses we don't care because we are on the free version. Focus on health view, focus on unused. So there are quite a few things that you can do with the extensions there. There's no need for you to actually remember the command. You can just use the extension if you so wish. I'm just putting it out there. Moving on. Now the next section, how do you integrate it with your AI agent, right? So if you go to this page here, agent skills, which again, if you just scroll down into integrations on the left hand side panel and just click on agent skills, right, it brings you up into this page and it details on how you can integrate Fallow with your AI agent, regardless of what your AI agent is. It gives an installation commands. If you wanted, you could do this way here, or you could just go to the GitHub repo, okay? And don't worry about these links. I will be giving this in the video description below, so do check those out, okay? So if you go to the GitHub repo, exact same thing, little bit more detail. So if you wanted to customize it specifically for a particular agent, you could do it using what is given in the readme file in the quick start section here. For us, okay, for me, I'm going to use anti-gravity. I used to use Gemini CLI, but unfortunately that is now off the shelf. Google has mandated that we should now be using Aggie or anti-gravity CLI. So that is what I'll be using. If you use Claude Code, you could just use this command here, okay? For any other agents, okay, essentially just copy this command, npx skills add fallow -rs/fallow -skills. Just copy this, open a command prompt or a PowerShell, doesn't matter what, and just hit enter. Once you do this, okay, now this is where I want you to listen carefully. If you are using anti-gravity, it will not work directly. You have to make a few tweaks. This is because I believe anti-gravity CLI is only evolving, and I'm pretty sure that very soon all tools, in my previous video about understand anything, I believe it was, doesn't work for anti-gravity CLI out of the box. You have to do a little bit of tweaking there. Same thing here, okay? So once you've installed this here, what happens is, I'm not going to install it again, okay, since I've already installed it. Just hit enter. It will install it. And if you are on a Windows machine, where this will be installed is in this directory right here. So it will be in your users, your user, whatever your user is, .agents. So there will be a directory called .agents, and it will be in the Fallow folder. So all these other folders are for some other things that I've been doing. So this is where it will load that skill. And for some reason, at least in a Windows machine, the anti-gravity CLI does not understand the skill. So what you would need to do is you just need to copy this whole folder, go back, okay, into your user directory, okay. So my username is Dell, okay, because I was lazy and I'm just using the default machine name, and just go into your Gemini folder, okay. So this is your legacy folder, which is what now anti-gravity CLI is using, by the way. And just go into anti-gravity CLI folder within the Gemini folder, and right there you will have, or was it not here? Oh, actually it was not here. So just go up, just go into the skills directory directly within the .gemini folder, okay. So your anti-gravity CLI will pick up the skills from this folder and just copy paste it here, which I've already done. So you can see the skill is already there. So it's the exact same skill that was there in the .agent folder. So just copy paste it here and you are all set to use anti-gravity CLI. I'm not sure for other agents how it will work, but if you're using anti-gravity CLI in a Windows machine, this is what you would need to do in order to get it working. Now let us launch anti-gravity from our terminal here. By the way, why it installed the skill into the .agents folder is because it can be used by multiple agents. So for example, if I just open my GitHub Copilot, which I have, okay, and since that skill is already there in the .agents folder, this should also work in Copilot. So you can see if I just type /fallow, it brings up Fallow, right? So this one here, and you can just start using it and you can just chat to it as you would do to a normal AI agent. Just use natural language. I'm not going to use GitHub Copilot. I'm just going to use anti-gravity, but the steps essentially remain the same. Okay, if you have installed it properly, okay, and once you have launched anti-gravity or whichever AI agent it is, if you do a /fallow, it should show up. Okay, so let me launch anti-gravity. You can see anti-gravity has launched, so I can just do a fallow, okay, and I can just press enter and it will essentially do the same thing all over again, which I do not want to do, right? But with the help of our AI agent now. And just let me move my video to the top right hand corner. It's a bit disconcerting, okay, right? So you just need to press enter, it will do it all the more. The good thing about using an AI agent is now you can chat with it. Okay, you can chat with it instead of by hearting the commands, right? Instead of doing the commands, you could just say, show me the dead code, for example, show me the duplicate /fallow, and it would understand, it would use those fallow tools to do what you want it to do. So for example, I could just ask it /fallow what files need refactoring, and you can see it's now thinking. Yeah, and I'll just say yes, give it all the permissions it needs. And you can see now it's running the fallow commands, right, for the health check. So all those things, it is using the fallow tools. So say I'll run the help command for fallow health. Fine. You will get a much more comprehensive output, hopefully, right? Much more structured output. But since you're using an AI agent, as you would have noticed straight away, it is a bit slower. Okay, it will make you, it will ask you for a host of permissions which you need to grant it. If you had straight away used the tool, okay, as you saw, we got the answer in a jiffy, and it asked for yet another command. So let's give it all the permissions it requires. Yeah, you can see it. Now, since you're using an AI agent, it has a cost associated. If you're using the tool directly, it does not have a cost associated. So based on your use case, your choice, right? Now we can see it as thought for this 5 seconds, more than 5 seconds, 799 tokens, analyzing the query. I run fallow static code analysis to locate dead code and complexity hotspots. And it's saying you can see the whatever you want to see in this report right here. Okay. And key decisions, actions, unused code. Would you like me to remove the unused user? Complexity, would you like to break down episodes into smaller subcomponents? If you want to look at the refactoring report, okay, just press Control and click on it. And there you have, so since it's a markdown file, I'll do a Control Shift V. and it has a beautiful report generated. Okay, so these are your complexity hotspots. This is the dev code cleanup, the large functions, and the only question you asked it is, right? What was the question that we asked it? So we asked it which files need refactoring, and the AI agent did its work. So you can use your AI agent in this factor. You can just chat to it in a natural language and get the output you desire. It will use the Fallow tools to generate the outputs. How cool is that? Now, if you wanted to use Fallow as a MCP server and expose it to your AI agent, okay, just go to this page here. So again, on the Fallow home page, if you just scroll down below to MCP on the left hand pane, okay, it will bring you to this page here. And if you scroll down a bit, scroll down, this is where it details how you can set up your MCP server, okay, your MCP tool calling. So it says for agents that support MCP, Fallow MCP exposes analysis as structured tools. Agents get typed inputs and outputs instead of passing the CLI text. So it gives you a bit of Claude code, other MCP clients. What should you do? Just follow these steps and gives you some available MCP tools. I will show you how I set it up for anti-gravity CLI. So let's see how I did that. So what you need to do is you need to create a mcp underscore config.json file, and this is where you'll be creating it. So go to your users root directory. So my username is Dell. So go to users Dell.Gemini anti-gravity -CLI. Again, I would remind you, I am on a Windows operating system. If you are on another system, the setup will be entirely different. But if you're on a Windows system, just follow the step there. Go into this directory and create a mcp-config.json file. And this is what you do. Just copy or type in this thing here, okay? That this snippet, JSON snippet that you see exactly. So MCP servers, curly braces, Fallow, command is Fallow-MCP. Very, very simple. Now remember, I am using the global installation for Fallow. That's why I use this. If you use something like, if you use the local or the dynamic installation, which is npx Fallow, if you're using that, the command should be npx space Fallow-MCP. So just keep that in mind. As simple as that. So once you've done that, go back into your anti-gravity CLI terminal, okay, and if you type in MCP, okay, if you have set this up correctly, you should be seeing that there. Let me give it some minute. This takes some time, okay, and you can see now, right? You can see Fallow. So if the first time it doesn't appear, just come back and just try again, okay. It should follow up, and you can see right here, right, this thing that I've highlighted, you can see Fallow tools. So it is available, and I have other MCP servers which you can ignore. All righty, and now once you've set up the MCP server, make sure that it's working just as I showed you. Now you can just use natural language just to chat with your AI agent. So you can, if you wanted, you could just use the /Fallow command, right? And then you could say, do this, do that. But since now we have exposed the Fallow tools as an MCP server, you can just directly say, analyze the code, and it should be intelligent enough to use those Fallow tools exposed via the MCP server. So let's try that. And right away you can see it's using the Fallow skill.md, right? So it has recognized that I can use Fallow. Yep, and it has started asking a whole lot of permission. But essentially, you can see it's going to use the Fallow tools. I'm not going to do this again and again, but you get the gist of the idea, right? How you can use the MCP servers. Quite brilliant. Another pretty useful way you can use Fallow is to integrate it with your CI pipeline. I'm not going to do that here, but I'll just show you where the documentation for that is on your left hand side. Okay, just go into Fallow, and if you just keep scrolling down, just in the integration section you have CI, right? And this describes how you can integrate it with GitHub Actions, GitLab CI, or if you want to do a manual setup, essentially integrating Fallow tools into your CI/CD pipeline. So automatically each time a build happens or you try to push code, right? If someone tries to push code, the tools will automatically get triggered and it will highlight any discrepancies. Oh my God. Okay, discrepancies. It will run the health checks to do all those stuff, so you can easily integrate it with your CI/CD pipeline. Now, one thing you have to be careful about while using Fallow is that it can flag up false positives. So, for example, it can say there are duplicates while those duplicates might be justifiable. For example, think of some unit test cases, and the way unit test cases work is that you would repeat code, right? And you would just change the input there. So it's perfectly justifiable that you do something like that. However, Fallow will flag it up as duplicates. So do not blindly run Fallow fix. Always do a review, always do a dry run, right? And there might be cases where you want to omit some files from going through the duplicate check, for example, right? Because you know there will be duplicates. So you would not want your unit test cases, for example, the unit test cases folder to go through the duplicate file check. And the way you can do it is by creating a config file. And the documentation for this, again, go to the Fallow homepage. And if you just scroll down towards the bottom, second last, you have something called config. Click on that and it will show you how you can create a config file. Let us create a config file. So let me just clean up my screen so you can see what's happening, and let me increase the screen state. And what I'll do is I just need to do a Fallow space in it, and it will create a .fallow rc.json file right here. And this is what you would need, okay, to configure what files you can omit. So for example, under this duplicate section, you can mention I do not want this file or this directory to be duplicated, right? So let me just remove all this comments because JSON doesn't support comments. Key, and let me just unblock this. Okay, this will remove this. And I do not need these many things. Okay, these are just, this is just to show that you can actually have multiple directories there. You can just do multiple directories. So you can just mention your directory path here, right? You can just give, for example, if I just wanted to ignore everything under the components directory, for example, okay, I just wanted to ignore, and this is just an example, okay. All I needed to do is I'll just say, just ignore this. Okay, I got a double quotes, which I do not want. So it will ignore this from the duplicate check, right? And if you just hover your cursor over, it will tell you exactly what this means, okay. So minimum occurrences mean the number of occurrences before a group is reported defaults to 2. You can change this value as you want. You can also add a mode, okay. So mode is something where you say that what type of checking you want, whether you want it to be mild, you want it to be weak, semantic. So if you just read that and you do this your space, it will show you the various options you have. So it can be mild, which is your default settings, I assume. You have semantic strict and you have your weak. I'll just keep it as mild. Okay. This is just to show you the various ways you can configure your config file. And once you've configured this, and if you run your dupe check again, this whole directory, right, this components directory, yeah, this one here will be omitted from the dupe check. So this is how you can configure Fallow or your project, right? So that Fallow understands what can be omitted, what it needs not checked, because you know there will be false positives there. Brilliant. And the super useful command that's good to know is something called Fallow audit. Now, what this running this command will do is it will, if you're using a GitHub repo, what it will do is it will compare the changes that you made to your current branch with those of the main branch and generate a report on just the changes. And that's a super useful tool to have. I will not be demoing this. I'm just putting it out there just so that you know this is something that you can use and it's pretty useful. And with that, we are at the end of our demo. Now, before we end, I think it will be good to actually go through the limitations page there. So if you have the time, please go through it. It just mentions its known limitations, that it's not a TypeScript compiler, it's no type resolution. The trade-off is speed. The cost is that type conditional dead code is not detectable. Okay. And you can just click on each expandable tile and see what it's all about. So just putting it out there so that you are aware of the tool's limitations. I'll be linking this in the video description below. And on that note, we are at the end of today's demo. I hope that you really enjoyed it and you found it useful. So I will be back with more useful tools. Till then, adios.